Okay. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's facilities webinar. This is our third virtual session. We're going to give everyone just maybe another 30 seconds, and then we'll get started with our presentation for this evening. But just want to thank everyone that's here, and hopefully over the course of the presentation tonight, you'll have an opportunity to hear some updates related to our facilities projects and also have some questions answered as well. Thank you again. We'll give everyone another few minutes. Okay, so we're going to get started. I'm Ray Sanchez, Superintendent of Schools. With us here, we have our representatives from Amasi, Aris Contracting, and our Assistant Superintendent, Brian Freed. They'll each introduce themselves in a few minutes. I want to just make sure that I kind of set the stage as relates to our agenda and what we hope to address over the course of this presentation. Number one, I just want to set also expectation that this is predominantly around facilities. It won't be around transportation, but we're hoping that we can provide as much of an update regarding our projects as well as the reopening of Tappan Hill School. So Tina, if we can go to our agenda. So this is our agenda for this evening. First, project status update. We have a number of projects that we're embarking on over the course of the upcoming school year. We want to share where we are related to that and the impact that it'll have across our school community. We'll provide you an update regarding Morris, and more specifically, we're going to revisit aspects of the staging and the safety protocols that we've established for this project. We're going to give you an update because while we've been talking predominantly about the reopening of Tappan, the fields at WI, and clearly at Morris School, we're starting to already develop the plans for Washington Irving. They have not been yet been submitted, but we'll provide you a quick update as to what it's starting to look like and the scope and schedule and so what some of the classrooms will look like in the end of the project. Lastly, we'll share some updates regarding Tappan Hill, and sorry, the last is actually some community questions. I do want to thank everyone that submitted questions in advance. It was very helpful. We did receive, just prior to our in-person presentation, about 40 additional questions. We're hoping that we can garner all of the questions that we received and then put it on our facilities website for everyone to kind of review on their own. So let me give you a quick update on the projects. So first, you'll see on the left-hand side of the table, the projects that we have and then the status of each. The Morris School project that has been approved and we're going to be starting on June 3rd. I want to thank everyone that was involved. You may recall in a lot of our conversations, we accelerated the approval process by having a third-party review, and that was really helpful for the district and not only securing the okay from State Education Department, but also securing a strong contractor for the project itself. The Washington Irving Field will also, we're going to be starting to set up June 19th. It will not impact our instructional programs, but you'll start to see some activity. Most of the activity will really start when the school ends. We know, and part of the reason why we waited on this project in terms of the summer months is the noise that it will have and the direct impact that we thought it would have on our instructional programs. Field lights, we anticipate that starting June 30th, and excited about what that's going to mean for our athletic program, but also our community as a whole. We are pursuing an energy performance contract that has been submitted this summer. That is a pretty large project. In essence, we're moving to more energy efficient upgrades that will help pay for the project itself. So that includes solar power on many of our buildings, a new roof in one of our buildings, as well as lighting upgrades across most of our buildings as well. And a lot of that is referenced on our website. It's about $5.9 million of work. That is no additional increase to the taxpayers. The Washington Irving addition that is being developed, and we'll share what that looks like. And the science classrooms at the middle school, that has been approved and we're ready to go. We're just waiting for the end of the school year to start the renovations themselves. We are upgrading our security doors or our security system at the middle school and the high school. You may know as you drive by, or if you've been in the building, there are a number of doors. So there's easy egress. We want to make sure the doors and the envelope is a little more secure. So there'll be alarm systems on each of the doors. Our building leaders will have access to them, but it'll make sure we know who is coming in and out of the building. And that will start as soon as we get our state education approval. Our middle school courtyard, we're just awaiting our SED approval, hopeful that we can get that project started in the summer and it's available to our scholars in the beginning of the school year. And similarly, we're waiting for approval on our food pantry, which we're excited about what that means for our community as a whole. Now I'll turn it over to Chris from Aris Contracting.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Sanchez. My name is Chris Hanneberg, Senior Project Manager for Aris Contracting. We're your construction management company for the bond project. A couple projects we're going to highlight this evening, specifically is the field lighting that you see in front of you, and then I'll be discussing the Morris Elementary School project. The field lighting project is going to mobilize and construction will start at the end of June. We're actually starting that on June 30th. What we're going to start with is the concrete light pole bases. The light poles themselves and the lighting will be installed throughout the month of July. The electrical infrastructure that you see here in orange that wraps the field itself, that infrastructure will be installed in August, and that includes the trench work, the conduit, the wire, the backfill process, and there are also some electrical components that will be installed in the bus garage. The lighting itself will be commissioned in early September, and myself and Tony will work on that commissioning process and that handover for the field lighting to, again, that will be turned on in early September. And then moving on to Morris Elementary School. The schedule that you see before you, for the most part, was the same schedule that we had put together at pre-referendum or pre-bond. The bids, the contractors have been awarded. They were awarded on April 3rd. Contractor kickoff for the project was April 8th. Currently working our way through the contracts, the insurances, the submittals, and the procurement of products to start construction starting June 30th. So that's Monday, June 30th. We will start construction on site. Construction completion is scheduled for August 27th. And the June 30th start, we are also working very closely with the district for the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th regarding the move out of the building or the move within the building of the furnitures and the parts and pieces, so to say, for the staff. What you see here is a overall site staging and safety plan. This is for the summer of 25, and again, this would commence on that June 30th date. If I can walk through the plan here, the left-hand side of the building is the 1921 side of the building, and the right-hand side of the building is the 1926 building. I'll be referencing those in the plans coming forward. You can see the areas in blue are noted as the areas of egress for the building, and they will be maintained throughout the duration of construction. The areas in pink, there's a small section in front of the building where the construction trailers will be located, and the areas to the right in the alleyway, along with the center area of the courtyard where the addition is going to be located, those areas are considered the construction areas. They'll be outlined in a construction fencing. We'll also maintain in that alleyway a fire department access that will be maintained clear 24/7. There will also be a 6-foot wide covered egress pathway from the existing cafeteria to the front of the building to maintain that egress out of the cafeteria for the duration of construction. The area in blue where it kind of says the owner's garbage in front of the building there, that area there will be outlined in blue and actually painted in blue, giving egress, but not only egress, but access to the playground, again, through the duration of the construction progress. Summer of 25, the gates that you see at the entrance, they will be maintained, and the parking lot will not be accessible for public use during that time frame. The parking lot itself will be, during the school year, will be accessible for busing and for parking and for general access. So the parking lot will not be shut down for the duration of the construction progress. The only time the parking lot will be shut down is for the summertime only. Thanks, Tina. So this is a general floor plan, and this is generally for the first, second, and third floor, again, setting up the summer of 25. Left-hand side of the building, the 21 side of the building shown in green, that is considered occupied space, and the right-hand side of the building shown in pink is the area under construction. Between those two areas is some lines in red. Those are actually the temporary dust partitions that will be installed. Those temporary dust partitions will be metal stud partitions, so it's metal studding, top track and a bottom track. The studding itself will extend from the concrete floor through the existing ceiling to the structure above, completely bisecting the construction area and the occupied space. The walls themselves will be wrapped in gypsum or sheetrock. They will be fully taped and painted. Between the studding will be mineral wool or fiberglass batting, and then on the inside of the completed wall will be a sound blanket that will be hung on the inside of the construction area, again keeping or deadening the sound coming from the construction area into the occupied space. I can also point out those partitions are mostly in corridors, again giving a buffer zone from the construction area to the classrooms themselves. I'm also showing here in blue with those arrows is the egress that is required for the occupants once we do come back into the September months. Next slide, Tina. Thank you. So this is summer of 26. So we've completed the work on the right-hand side of the building, and now we're, so to say, flip-flopping to the left-hand side of the building, shown in pink. Right-hand side of the building in the darker green is completed. We've done some work with those partitions to rework them for the reoccupancy. The addition that was shown in the courtyard is now completed, again showing egress at the rear of the building, around the rear of the building. The areas in beige is work that would be completed over the summer only. So the areas like the auditorium, the cafeteria, gymnasiums, those would be completed over the summertime months only, and then reoccupied in that September timeframe. At the entrance of the building, you see some additional temporary fencing and a new partition that bisects the front lobby to help again separate the construction areas from the occupied areas. A lot of questions which we're trying to answer regarding the abatement and dust migration. Again, the temporary partitions are installed to help mitigate those issues. The areas in pink, as I mentioned earlier, those areas are under construction. And for the most part, actually all of the abatement will be completed over the summertime months. This summer, specifically, it'll be about 2 weeks worth of abatement. The balance of the summer will be the major demolition portion of the project, and then beginning reconstruction before occupancy in September. And with that, I will turn it over to Tina.
Thank you, Chris. My name is Tina Mercedes-Sayas. I'm a managing partner at Mamasi. We are the architects for the district. We're just going to provide an update on WI Intermediate School and the progress that we've made, and show some images of where we are. We very recently, in March, we submitted our first milestone, which was schematic design, which was preceded by a building scan, an existing conditions building scan, to help inform the existing conditions and to help inform the drawings. We've also started programming meetings back before March, and are continuing on with those for more specific information about the interior spaces, the instructional spaces, and some of the areas throughout the building that we are renovating. We are on schedule to submit to SED in November 2025, so in the fall, with an anticipated construction start of next June 2026. And just to summarize the scope of work, or just as a reminder to everyone, the bulk of the work is focused on, there's a major classroom addition to really make up for the smaller classrooms that currently exist. So to repurpose the small classrooms for student support service space, or small group instruction, and for some office space. We'll be working on renovating the library and creating a STEAM lab up in the second floor. And then creating across the second floor an area of specials where music, art, library, and STEAM will be located. We're renovating the main office, sort of the length of the portion of the main floor. We are replacing interior door and door systems. We will be providing access to the gym from a lift. And then we're doing a lot of similar work that we did at Morse, where we are decarbonizing and removing all the fossil fuels from the building, replacing the HVAC system. This also entails a full electrical service upgrade to electrify the building. We will be replacing all the lighting, the power systems, fire alarm, and the IT systems as well. Plumbing will receive upgrades in certain areas. Some of the additional bathrooms will be renovated. And then again, there will be some abatement work that will happen through the summer months as well. Oops. So this is just showing a diagram of the existing floor plans. So this is the basement plan, the existing first floor plan, second floor, and the fourth floor, which is referred to as the penthouse. You can see this small diagram showing the typical classroom size, which is generally around 500 square feet. So again, one major goal of this project is to repurpose those spaces and to create larger classroom spaces. And this is just an example of how some of the smaller spaces are used. Some are used for small classrooms like ENL. Other are full-size classrooms and sort of an understanding of how crowded a classroom really is in this school. A social worker office, and then a sort of a speech room that's really sort of a makeshift space. Moving on, the existing site plan, which is on the left, and this red little box is showing where the addition is located, which you can see is off of the more recent classroom addition at WI from the 1990s. We are going to be doing some regrading and resurfacing of the lot at the back for a safer parking area with new walkways. You can see at the back of the addition, there is some regrading down to a new playground area on the site, along with some new plantings that you see. There is an extensive amount of bioretention for stormwater control. Again, some new plantings throughout the site. I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is showing the new floor plans. So as you can see, the ground floor plan, the addition is in blue and the renovation areas are in yellow. It is a 12 classroom addition where they essentially align with the existing floor plans. So you can see the two newer classrooms from the 1990s and then the new addition that is sort of seamlessly attached to the building. This is showing the existing building, how a view sort of from above looking at it, and then a view with the addition constructed. As you can see, we're being very thoughtful in the exterior envelope to match the existing facade on the street side. And then just a blow up of some of the areas that we're currently working on that, again, we still have some programming to do, but are fairly along right now. The yellow area is the existing main office space that we'll be renovating. You can see that we will have the principal's office is going to be renovated. We will be adding a new conference room, the assistant principal, the psychologist's office, and then the main office with a single entrance point. And again, that is right off of the main entrance. The typical classroom layout, and again, these are designed pretty efficiently where they stack from floor to floor. 4 classrooms, a stair on each end of the building, and 2 single user bathrooms and some maintenance and mechanical space in the addition as well. And again, this is a typical layout where you can see that the classrooms are much larger than the existing and range from 790 to about 800 square feet. And again, this is just showing a blow up of a single classroom and the ability to create different zones within the classroom, teaching zones, general learning zones, multiple instructional walls, and really providing the flexibility to change the classroom based on the day's instruction. Staying on the second floor, the yellow areas that you see, we're looking at creating a band and orchestra room. So combining two of the smaller classrooms to create a larger band orchestra room with a general music room next to it. Across, what you're not seeing in yellow here is a new ensemble space, music office and storage. And then on the right-hand side of the same area is the combination of two rooms again to create a larger art classroom. And again, these are just views kind of looking at what the space looks like from above. And lastly, showing the STEAM and library lab. This is sort of at the center of the second floor. And we are creating an area for STEAM in this zone, and then sort of naturally flowing into the library space as well. Again, creating lots of different zones within the space for different modes of teaching and learning, and giving students really the choice to choose where they want to be in the space. And then the other thing we're also looking at is the potential for a bus loop at the front of WI off of North Broadway. So this is something we looked at pre-referendum planning, and we're revisiting for the potential to do this. And you can see that it's a bus loop that stems from North Broadway that allows for 8 buses to stack with one way in, one way out. We would also be looking at replacing or upgrading the steps at the entrance and a new ramp. And then also obviously improving or replacing the crosswalks to adjust for this change. And then Tappan, and Dr. Sanchez, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but the district is actually replacing the ceilings and lightings in the summer of 2025.
Yeah, I can jump in. So
Okay,
much
perfect.
of this is going to be done over the summer, particularly as we think about this summer, the 2025. We're going to be addressing ceiling and lighting, so more cosmetic, but also important for the facilities themselves. The next summer, we're going to be replacing a roof, and then there'll be flooring replacement. And then lastly, at the end of 2027, there'll be a window system replacement as well. So there'll be work taking place over there, but this initial component, meaning this current summer, will be mostly ceiling and lighting, which leads to the question, like, when can we enter the building? We are going to offer an opportunity for our families that are going to tap in to visit in June. And similarly, some parents of students that are current first graders staying there for second have asked if they can see the building. We are going to provide time for our families to be able to do that. The only caveat to that versus the tap-in is that we want to make sure that it's a time when we can enter the building, and more specifically, it's not solely about construction. We're also cleaning the building. So as soon as we can do that, it's probably mid to late August that will provide an opportunity for parents just to walk through the building, and likely allow them to come with their child. But more details to follow. That's in response to some of the feedback we've received. So just want to put that out there to the families that are going to have their child at Morris School. So let's go to the next one. So I just want to reference a few things. These slides were shown in the past. We've just updated the colors, meaning where we are in our process. You'll note the bottom has a key. Red meaning we haven't started, yellow still in progress, and green meaning that it's been completed. As it relates to staffing, for the most part, we've addressed and actually completely informed our staff of where they'll be assigned, and at the same time have given them the opportunities, particularly those that are going to Tappan, to see where their room assignments will be. We've created a master schedule. We're really trying to work with our master schedule so that teachers, specifically our music, art, physical education, and STEAM teachers, have full days in each of our schools. It's been really helpful this current year, and we received relatively positive feedback from those that are directly impacting the past. They've been shared, meaning they spend part of a day in one building and then another part of a day in the other. This current schedule this year, and hopefully next year, they'll have full days. And so that's our staffing component. Next. As it relates to food service, want to give a lot of credit to our business official, Brian Freed, along with his team. You'll see that most of the work has been complete. We ordered cafeteria tables, and we're working on our composting program up at Tappan. We're very excited and want to thank Kiko and the entire team for all their work. It's now moved to the middle school, and we want to maintain it at Tappan. We're working on our kitchen upgrades in terms of some of the equipment, making sure that's all set, and then also working with our village in terms of disposing some of the products that are produced, in this case, some of the garbage. In terms of safety, this is yellow because part of it is identifying, number one, our safety team. Each building has a safety team. Now that we've identified who's going to be at Tappan, they'll be working together to define who their building emergency response team is. It's also contingent on the principal assignment. We're hoping that we can finalize our principal search no later than the middle of this month, maybe sooner. But it gives them or him or her that opportunity to sit with the team and start fleshing out the details. The good thing is that there's a pre-existing plan because BOCES has already been there. And then you can see some of the other aspects related to safety and security. Technology, want to thank Dr. Kingsbury and the team. There's a lot that's been accomplished, both large and small, from the switches that have been ordered, the phone system being ready to go, digital signage has been ordered, and then much of what you'll see in red is contingent on the school year ending so that the team can work on getting those completed. But there's a lot that's been accomplished, and thankful for everyone that's been involved to this point, but much of what you see in red will happen starting in July. In terms of other tasks, we've provided time for our staff to start to declutter so that they can prepare for packing. We anticipate allocating time for our staff in creative ways so that they can utilize that time and still maintain instruction so that they can begin to pack for the move, because we need to be ready for that July 1st when everything starts to shift over and the boxes start moving over to Tappan Hill. We're working through our after-school program. We anticipate at this point, but we haven't necessarily solidified it just yet, but to offer the same after-school program we have at Morris at Tappan Hill. And as I noted before, we started our decluttering. We've had the staff has had an opportunity to visit Tappan. The Morris school teachers know their assignments in their classrooms at this point. And you can see that, as I noted before, we're working on just the unpacking component too, and what that's going to entail for our staff. So I want to move into some of the questions. These are some of the questions that were provided to us in advance, and I see that there are some in the chat as well that we'll get to. There have also been some common questions that have surfaced that we just want to highlight for everybody. So the first relates to recess. Will the children have a place for recess during construction? Will the front fence facing the street be replaced for maybe a panel fence for privacy? So what I would say to you, just in a general sense, that the existing play area will be available. The construction is not impacting that space. Some of the questions that surfaced is down the road when the New York Forward funding, when we anticipate replacing the playground. We're not doing any work until we finish with the major components of the Morris project. Everything else will remain the same, and as Chris noted before, there are protocols to get students from one location, meaning from the building, to the playground area itself. Chris, anything you want to add? I saw you just unmute for a minute.
No, you're good. Thank you.
Okay. So the noise, Paul, you want to take this part?
Sure, I'll take this one. I'm Paul Tazi, president of Aris Contracting. I've been working on this project since the beginning also. The noise pollution, everybody has lived through some kind of construction during their home. And this is going to be handled quite a bit differently, both in noise and in dust. And let me go over some of how we're going to handle this. Chris went over and the plan on how temporary walls were going to be constructed so that they're sealed from the floor to the underside of the deck above, which they'll be acoustically sealed at the floor and the underside of the deck. Inside that wall will be a sound attenuating blanket. It's an insulation, let's say. The walls are fire rated, so they're 5/8 sheetrock taped and painted. The ceiling on the occupied side that you're going to occupy will be put back, so it'll look like it'll be very difficult to tell someone's working on the opposite side. And the inside, the portion of the construction, we have a sound attenuating blanket hanging over top of it to help, again, deaden the sound as we go forward. So the other thing that we've done is we've worked with the district to create kind of like buffer zones. So a lot of the areas next to where we would be building, we're not using that room and we've sectioned it off, or we've built a similar type of temporary partition inside the room and insulated with the sound blankets, everything I've discussed, so that it could deaden the sound going into the classrooms or into the occupied side of the building. On dust migration throughout the building, what we are doing is the project starts out with us going in and building the walls, as I just stated. And then we move to what's going to be the abatement portion. The abatement portion is under the control of the district's environmental engineering team. And what will happen is they'll come in, they start doing existing testing to get backgrounds of the area. They start doing criticals. And what critical barriers are, it's multiple layers of plastic on the walls, ceiling, floors, everywhere you would need to seal off that area so that the area containing the asbestos is completely separated from every other area. And then they remove the floor tile. In this building, we are lucky in that there's not a tremendous amount of asbestos in this building. It's floor tile and some pipe insulation. So they remove the floor tile, wash the whole area down, test it again, and send the sampling out for testing and results under 3 tests. And then they will, when all 3 tests come back clear, they will open the area and consider the area clear. So then we have to deal with the area of the contractors working and doing the demo work. And most of the demo work, like as it was indicated in the beginning of the project, will be handled over the summertime, the major portion or the major demo that goes on. To handle the dust that's going to go through the building, each floor is going to have its own HEPA filtered negative air machines. So what we're doing is we're pulling the air to the rear of the building on each floor in the construction area and filtering that air through a HEPA filter to the exterior. So those HEPA filters during the abatement portion are on 24/7. On the areas of the construction, they will be on for the entire time anybody is in the building. So that's going to control the dust. We're looking at the walls controlling the sound. And I think the program itself we can enact and move forward without it really affecting the occupied areas.
I just want to reiterate a few things, Paul, if I can, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong on either of these. Because if you go back for a moment, Tina, because there is an embedded question in there that someone brought to my attention, that if asbestos is found during construction this summer, will you send students, they're graduating JP next year? So here's what I want to just reinforce that both Paul and Chris referenced before. The asbestos removal, we anticipate taking 2 weeks, and that is generous in terms of the completion of that. Even if we had to take another week, we still have plenty of time before the start of the school year. So there isn't concern about getting that completed and having to send students to another location. Asbestos removal will not take place while students and staff are in there. And just to give you a sense, the office staff at Morris School are actually going to be relocated to JP while we do the asbestos removal. So there's been questions around what will happen if we find asbestos. Like if we were to find asbestos during the year, Chris or Paul, do you want to just reference that if by chance?
Sure, if asbestos is not covered during the year, most of what normally happens is during the demo phase, that's when we'll find if there is any additional that wasn't identified in the beginning. That's generally where it comes up. So we're anticipating being able to handle that during the summer. If something gets discovered during the project as we're going through, whatever contractor discovered it, or when we discovered it, if it appears there, the area is stopped of construction work proceeding. We go back and then we look at doing a planning that for the times when the school is out of session. So we don't do any abatement while the school is in session. So everything is planned and sequenced so that asbestos abatement is only done on an empty building.
All right, thank you. And then the noise component, can you just speak, Paul, just to add a little bit more, because I think it addresses a question that I'm kind of getting ahead on. Just but while we're on that topic, when issues related to noise, if there's questions that start to, just the ongoing conversations that take place with staff related to this, and both the building and teachers.
The protocol we set up is that if the noise is transmitting into the occupied spaces, the teacher will let the principal know, the principal will let us know, and we'll shut down whatever is affecting that. That has always in the past worked very well to control it. The tests that we've come up with are meant to basically control the noise and keep the noise level as low as humanly possible. The 60 decibels is what's required, so that which is a normal classroom is above 60 decibels. So we don't have hundreds of people working in the building. So it's going to be while it's under construction, it's relatively easy. There are smaller crews that are working through this so that there'll be less of a noise migration into the building. But there's a protocol on setting it up so we can shut it down quickly if needed.
All right, thanks, Paul. So let's go on to the next one, Tina, if you don't mind. Do you want to speak to evidence of similar renovations you've done in similar age buildings in the past?
Sure. The question was asked, have we done any this type of construction in the past? All right, let's see. That's not there. We have all right. So the answer that you're reading here is not actually answering that question.
Yeah, it seems to be off.
So the way this we have done a lot of construction while schools are in session. Our primary focus in business is working on school buildings, K-12 programs. So we are very adept to what is needed to work safely in a school while school opens. You know, the times we have to build on the schools is really the summertime is we could take over large portions and the breaks. But we do have to get work done during the school year along the way. This one is not going to be, it can't be worked as a job working piecemeal. It really needs to move through and build the job out. That's why we're separating the parts of construction. The staging areas are separated, and all there will not be any interaction with the construction workers and the staff or students. They're using separate entrances in that. But some of the other projects that we've worked on, you know, we have the Kingston High School, which is a similar similar age building where it's a 1920s building. And we had to renovate actually the whole interior of the building while the students were still in place. And we used a similar methodology of sectioning ourselves off, creating exits for the students and staff, renovating that portion, open it up and take over another section. And we worked through that for about 1.5 years on that building. Some of the other local buildings that you're looking at, Fox Meadow Middle School, we worked through having to do renovations to the pods that are there during the year when students were working, when students were occupied. And some of the other buildings, we just completed Park Elementary School. Park Elementary School is an early education center. So the kids are kindergarten age kids. And we needed to build a 2nd-story addition on top of the existing classrooms. So we took all the precautions, built the majority of it during the summer of where we got the structure enclosed, and then had scaffolding running around the outside of the building that protected the space underneath with debris curtains so that if anything did come away, it would drop into the center of the debris curtain and protect that. So we also had to design a whole site element on staging area because the only access to this building was actually during the play area of that school. So we had to create the safe egress for the students in and out of that area and including the play areas. So that was a very successful project. I do not believe we had any complaints at all on that one. And then another one we did in Austin, just to give you another idea, and this was in a middle school. The AMD middle school was under construction. We had to renovate the entire core of the building while the students were occupying it. So we created the same way. We created a plan that used alternate stairways for just the construction, created day staging areas outside so that we didn't block any exits or egress, and created dust barriers throughout the building to separate the construction from the student activity. And again, that was a very successful project. And we started on the 3rd floor and just worked our way down. So we've spent 1.5 years working on planning on how to do this building. And I think we have a very solid plan.
Yeah, so thank you, Paul, and apologize to everyone in the audience. We'll correct that answer before posting. While it is a transportation related, you can see the answer is in terms of, well, Tappan and Morris share buses. The answer is Tappan and JPE will share bus and stops between both schools, and more details will follow associated with that. Will special areas have their own specific classrooms? The answer is yes. Initially, particularly at Tappan, they'll share classrooms. Keep in mind too, what I said before is that they'll have dedicated days. So the day that art is there, they utilize the space for art. On a dedicated music day, they use it for music. And that's how we anticipate using that space for the upcoming school year. Did we explore other options? And I saw that also in the chat. So I want to really be, number one, from the beginning, we've shared that this was going to be the plan and spoke very directly with the community about this. With that said, we did explore other options. So to know before we presented anything to the community if there were other alternatives that we can consider. The number one, expedite the project and see to what extent we can minimize the students being there during the construction. Although we do believe very honestly that, as Paul noted, it's very, very safe to have both construction and our students there. We looked at St. Teresa's. I would say that if one were to walk through St. Teresa's while there are religious education classes taking place there, that the building needs a significant amount of upgrades and is not suitable for a swing space in the moment. Transfiguration was another space we looked at, both myself and Brian Freed. We went over to the building. We walked the building. It's certainly in good conditions. But keep in mind that Southern Westchester BOCES, which offers a special education program, is the program that's currently at Tappan Hill. They have since leased that building. So while we looked at it, and it was a surprise to us as it was for individuals at Transfiguration, they were the first to look at it. And we did discuss the possibilities of, can we pull both grade levels out and to more so to expedite the project. And at the same time, there would be maybe some cost savings because we could get it done sooner and quicker. We looked at modulars. Modulars were just not an option for us. There are many, many that we'd have to purchase, nor do we have the space to place them in throughout the district. And more often than not, as Paul referenced before in other settings, that there's a lot of state education approval that needs to be secured. And at the same time, more often than not, when folks do purchase modulars, they don't always take them down, which is a good example of what's happened here at John Paulding. There are 2 classrooms that, for approximately the past 20 years, have been continue to be used for kindergarten classes. So we have looked at others, and the other part of it too is keeping in mind that just even last year we were just trying to find a few classrooms for pre-kindergarten and we couldn't find them. We wanted to expand the program, but the program, there was not adequate space in order to do so. So we have explored every possible option that currently exists. I see, a building at the Chicos. To be fair and honest, we did not check a building at the Chicos, but I would also say that beyond that, there's a lot of prerequisites that relates to, state education department approval before we can put someone in just a building that's large. There's a lot of state education items that need to be considered before students are allowed to be in spaces particularly for education. Anything else that I may have missed, Brian?
No, I think you've covered it. It's just also that state education, in order to gain a certificate of occupancy, you have to make sure that everything is up to code and up to requirements from the state education department, and that's a decently long process.
Yeah, and I also see if Hackley, we did not reach out to Hackley, just to be fair and honest with you about that. But we did make an exhaustive effort, even during the bond process, before we came out to the community, to see what other options could be made. But knowing too that we have a very solid plan that considers the health and safety of our students and staff and our community at large as well.
And then even Transfig, we did even have conversations with Transfig, and even prior to BOCES, in addition to that, and they really weren't interested in dealing on a short-term basis. They were looking for something more long-term.
Okay, next set. Questions? So this one relates to communication with the community. We do anticipate and have been communicating along the way, with our village officials. You may have noticed it in my updates. We are working with the villages to make sure that the communication now reaches all our residents. And we will continue to do so, but not only just in electric copies, but also thinking about some paper documents that we can distribute. We've notified our Chamber of Commerce, just to give you an example, and other entities that could be directly impacted, particularly with the closing of the Morris parking lot, and the impact that it may have we anticipate having in our community for the next 2 years. And also Washington Irving will be loud for a period of time. as they start to take down the, concrete bleachers. That's the component that will be large. So we're conscious of the impact it may have on our residents that live nearby. And so we want to make sure that they're fully aware. We're only going to be constructing during hours that we're permitted to construct. But we just want to make sure that during that short period of time, particularly at WI, that everyone's fully aware of what's going to take place and what they can anticipate. At Morris School, there will be a dedicated or a room for music. Mr. Wally has looked through the program that we want to offer our students next year and has made sure that there is space for music education. And some of it will be shared with other staff, but there will be dedicated space for all our special areas. All right, so why don't we go through some of the questions in the chat, if we could? And some we may have
Sure.
addressed.
So many of them have been addressed, both live and typing, but the ones that remain, would you, Brianna Stout asks, will you please share if there will be a car option to drop off students at Tappan Hill? And if so, what will that look like? And if parents pick up children at dismissal, where are the parents parking? So Bree, where we are with that is we do not have a complete plan as of yet, because we would like the building principal who's hired to be able to work on that plan. The answer is yes, there will be an option to drop off children. So what will that look like in the moment? We don't have that, but once we do, that will be broadly put out and broadcast.
Can I just add, Brian, that just as a reminder, right now we anticipate all our students being eligible for transportation. And as Brian said before, we were just actually there on site today, and some of those conversations related to, there are some outlines, but the tightening up of that plan is really it will leave in the hands of our new building principal.
Yeah, thanks. And just to expand on that a little bit. So what we've done in our research on the transportation side is that we've seen that everybody in the current kindergarten cohort lives at least 0.3 miles away, and therefore they would be eligible for transportation. So everybody would be in the moment, assuming nobody else moves into the district closer than 0.3 miles to Tappan Hill. Everybody right now is eligible for that transportation. There's a question here I think we may have addressed, but let's make sure, from Lily Majid. Also, can you please address whether or not you are putting air filters and testing air quality routinely? My kid has asthma, and I don't feel that has been adequately addressed for Morse.
Okay, I'll take that one. Also, while I'm talking, I'll go to the next one below it. Also, the second question.
Great.
Will the filters be in individual classrooms? So I'm going to answer both of those. The filtration that I'm talking about, first of all, let me start with separating the building, separating the construction area off from the balance of the building. And then on each floor of the construction area, these large negative air machines. And what a negative air machine is basically a very large contained fan, which moves, which is sized to do 3 air changes an hour in the construction area. So it's a very large and potentially, it sounds like a large fan running when you're running it. So, and that exhausts through the rear of the building through a HEPA filter, which will filter out, small dust particles, anything else that is headed its way. We are looking to pull the air through the construction area and exit it out so that none of the air that is in the construction area will have the ability to move into the occupied area. That's why it's a negative air machine. What we're doing is we're putting the construction areas on negative air and giving it a source or a pathway to exit the building safely through HEPA filtration.
So I'm just going to jump in for a second, because health and safety is clearly and first and foremost, like, on our mind as, as a team, not only just from district, but working with our construction manager and architects. I just want to assure those that are watching and those that might be watching later that, you know, the safety of our students, the safety of our staff, and the safety of just our overall community is first and foremost. If there's anything that jeopardizes the project, or if anything were to be unsafe, we will let folks know if they're concerned. And that is true of any of our buildings, quite honestly. It's not just related to the construction project, but any of our buildings. If there were anything that jeopardizes health and safety, our parents and our staff and our community would be aware. And I say that both as a superintendent, I say that both as a parent, and I say that as just a caring individual. There's no benefits to us to put anyone in harm's way. So we'll continue to, you know, address the questions, and we really, really do appreciate it. But, you know, we're putting forth everything that we can to make sure that everyone is safe and that instruction goes on with limited impact at all. And in fact, we're hoping that the construction can be a source of education for our students too, appropriately, but more to come. And that would be something that comes from our staff in their discussions.
Megan Rose asks, what's the plan for the Morse cafeteria for next year, and will construction be happening above that area?
I can take that, Brian.
Go ahead.
The Morris cafeteria next year during the 25-26 school year, cafeteria will not be affected. The corridors to the cafeteria, the kitchens, the restrooms near there will not be affected. We will be working above the cafeteria area. Obviously, there's a ceiling above that, along with a existing 4-inch concrete slab above that area. So there will be minimal, if any, disruption down to the cafeteria.
Chris, you said a 4-inch slab concrete?
Yeah, there's a 4-inch
Okay.
concrete slab along with the ceiling system that's currently there. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Jesse Lanoil asks, I'm sorry, could you clarify on the testing of air? I understand the air will be tested once after abatement, but will it be tested regularly for asbestos as well as dust? And the testing of sound, would it be possible to have the PTA do a walkthrough on a weekly basis, for example, to keep an eye on the noise disruption?
So go ahead, Paul, you want to start and I'll talk to the last
Yeah,
piece.
let me go over the testing of the air. Well, first of all, it's not one test after the abatement's done. It is continuing testing during the whole process. So it starts, the abatement work starts with, like I said, background air sampling. So the environmental engineers go in there and they set up all these sniffers around the site, in the site, all over the place to test outside, to test the air everywhere. So they have a background gauge of what the existing building is. Then the identified asbestos is removed, again, under sampling. The sampling takes a air sample, and the capsule is sent out to a lab for analysis, and we get results back in anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. So they determine so that's multiple tests that go out. I would say there's a dozen tests, almost like an hour throughout the process. When the process is completed, the asbestos removal process, they do another series they clean the whole area, and then they do another series of testing to make sure that's been cleaned. If any of the test has any particles that of asbestos or anything else, they do not move forward. They re-clean the whole area. By cleaning, I'm talking about they literally wash down every surface, every particle in that building. And the testing goes on with the environmental engineer going in with a blower, similar to your leaf blower, to move the air around the space so that if anything is in there, it's going to get airborne again. So they will clean the space, blow it out, test the air again, send the test out for sampling. And then when that comes up 100% clear, they will remove one layer of the poly and protections and re-clean the whole space again. And do that. That happens 3 times. And the space is not turned over to us, even in construction, until they've received an all clear on the space. The environmental engineers are in control of that process and in control of the building at that time until it's 100% clear. They're the ones that are certifying that the asbestos is removed, the air is clean, there are no particles remaining. And then when they break down the space, we were able to then get in there and start general demo. So then.
So the question, okay, go ahead, Paul. Are you done? Sorry.
No, I was going to say, if you wanted to take the second part of that.
Yeah, the second was, can we do walkthroughs weekly? The answer is no, not at this time. And more so, I think we have to really trust our staff related to the noise levels. And they will articulate, ARIS will have someone on site to manage the project as their point person. If there is any concerns that come from staff, they're the ones that are going to tell us if there's noise or if there's anything else of concern. They will direct it to the principal, who in turn will work with ARIS to make sure they work with the contractors. That is really the protocol we're going to use. Having it, outside individuals, and I've gotten this from some parents, like, can we come in and do testing? The answer is no. We're going to open up the building, we'll allow you to walk through it in the summer and then and answer any questions along the way. But we're not going to have the PTA or others just walk through the building to test noise.
Could you explain, Meredith Block asks, can you explain why the music room in Morse is moving next year?
Yeah, Meredith, what I would say to that is, I think the best person right now to talk to is maybe I'll direct it to the building principal, Tori Wally. He's been the one that's been directing, along with the building, the spaces that'll be used, how they'll be used. So, and making sure that we provide and maintain the importance of art, music, STEAM, and physical education throughout there. So he's probably the best person I would direct that question to at this point.
Lily Majid asks, when you reference successful previous projects, it seems you're referencing success of construction and minimal complaints. Are you referencing any follow-up health data on children impacted? Do we know from data that children have not been impacted by these increased health risks?
Okay, I'll answer that one. First of all, when we're referencing successful projects, we're not referencing successful projects on just that the construction was successful. We don't consider a project successful unless the construction is built as needed. But at number one is that the students are unaffected and and we built safely. That's what we pride ourselves on, and we build these plans to basically make that come true. And we spend a lot of time on how we're going to proceed with the construction. Like I said, our focus isn't first on let's get the construction completed at any cost. The first thing we look at is the safety of the kids and the safety of any students, faculty. And then secondarily, it becomes, let's get the construction moving forward. That's a successful plan for us, a successful project, one that gets built that the occupants basically come in later and say, wow, I barely knew you were even there. Usually it's a little bigger site work, but that's what we consider a success. So we don't have data on the second part of your question, which was, do we have the data on the occupants that have been affected? Because in my career, which is going back 38 years now, we have not had incidences where the occupants were affected. It comes from a complete understanding of how to deal with the dust and noise and making sure that is held to a strict standard.
Again, Lily Majid asks, what's the harm in just adding more filters into the classrooms if it puts parents at ease? I understand the HEPA filters move air elsewhere, but I've been in construction environments before, and I know that air and dust leak easily, and it's helpful to have backup systems. I can start in just sharing that the volume of noise on those filters just is not conducive to appropriate instruction. They're quite noisy. And then
the other thing is that the systems are designed. I'm sorry.
I said the rest I'll leave to the professionals.
Oh, okay. The intent is to pull the air through the building. And when you look at it as one unit, it is not big enough to handle the whole building. That's not true. It's a process that is used in construction all the time. As far as we've worked in hospitals while the hospital was operating. We've worked at the airports while they were in full operation. The idea behind it is you've got to pull the air through the building and give it an exit for it so that it doesn't move toward the occupied area. We're pulling the air from not from the occupied areas, but from the walls separating the occupied areas out to the opposite end of the building. And 3 air changes an hour is a pretty forceful filter system.
Katrina Kaplan asks, is a plan in place for Morse car drop off and pickup?
The answer is yes. I think it's probably best that those details will shared by Mr. Wally. I know there's an orientation coming up soon, but you'll get more directions from that. But there will be, the plans are very similar to what we have currently, with obviously slight tweaks because we're going to have, the configuration will be different, but Mr. Wally will report to those families in terms of what it'll look like.
And in the moment, I believe the last one's been answered, but I'll read it just in case there's anything else for Paul or Chris to share. Will there be ongoing air quality testing to protect students with asthma and other respiratory illnesses?
We're doing all the protocols required and going over and above for, during the asbestos. We're also going over and above on the other areas. I'm not sure what we would be testing for because the project starts with actually the abatement of asbestos, because as contractors, we can't work in that building either if we create a hazardous condition. So yes, I'm concerned about the students first, but I also have to manage the contractors and the construction workers because as such, we can't put them in a hazardous environment either. So that's what our plan addresses.
So that concludes all the questions, right?
Yes.
So we'll correct that one slide for those that came in viewing and for the public to view. Do want to thank the team. There's a lot that's been accomplished, and it's because of the individuals on the screen and many who aren't on the screen, like our Director of Technology, our Building Principal, our Director of Facilities, Tony Demand, and many others. So I just want to thank them for all the hard work related to getting us to where we are. I do want to say that it's sometimes challenging and acknowledge it's challenging to watch a webinar and ask questions and did we fully answer? If there's anything that we didn't fully answer, please just reach out. Both Brian and myself will make ourselves available to answer any questions that families may have. And there are some details that we're still ironing out, like the question of parent drop off and pick up at Tappan Hill. Those are coming. Those details will be ironed out. We have time to do that. We feel comfortable enough with our timing before the start of the school year. But nonetheless, keep asking those questions because it does help us to make sure that we haven't missed anything, and we're working really hard to make sure that everything goes perfectly for our students and staff in the upcoming school year. So with that, we'll pause. Thank you. We're going to be posting this webinar on our website for anyone to view at a later date. But thank you again for being here and wish everyone a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.